Oh, well, welcome to Hockey Death Podcast, episode 200. And of course, we have a fill in because we can never just be together for episode 200.
I
I'm
don't
your
think
host, Bill Dean.
we haven't been together in like 2 months.
I know. I'm your host, Bill Dean. I'm, of course, here with my two co hosts and then a random fill in. You have Shorts Guy, you have Esteban,
Yeah.
Steven,
Hi.
Little Steve, and you have Giuseppe. And Giuseppe is here just hanging out. He's actually better looking than Schwim, so this kind of helps the podcast a little bit. But he is still a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, and he is still very much greasy. We're brought to you by Primetime Radio, courtesy of Mr. Sam Wu. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Please leave us a 5-star review if you'd be so kind. I did hear you guys butcher my opening in last week's show. It was awesome. I think Steven said 3 of the 7 places you could find us, which was good. Thank you, Steven, for covering those 3. And I appreciate you guys covering me while I was out. It sucked. First podcast.
I did say where all podcasts are. I think I said where all podcasts are.
That's what you did. You did.
Wherever
exactly
you can find them.
Wherever you can find podcasts, you can find us, hopefully.
Yes.
Boys, what are we drinking?
I am still battling the battle of yellow flashing lights to this keg that just won't end.
Yeah, that's a long battle. Long, arduous battle.
As you can tell, I am excited about it. It has been siege warfare. It's like the Battle of the Bulge in December in the 1940s, and I'm freezing in a foxhole, chugging a very dark, intensified stout.
Yeah, I mean, it could be much worse, but yeah, that's not always pleasant.
Could be.
I understand your plight.
I'm ready. I'm ready to hook up the new keg, and I refuse to hook it up until the old one's dead. That's really what I want.
Reasoning there.
Yeah, I'm surprised I'm logical because I'm not always.
Esteban.
Yeah, I'm going back. I was actually going to go and drink a Festina because it's wonderful.
Oh, that does sound good.
But I got to finish my tropical squalls, so I'm still making my way through my 6-pack. This is so good. It's 9%, so I like to save it for perhaps once a week. So Mondays it is.
Yes.
Very nice. My beer is world acclaimed. It's a lager beer. It is original, and it's a nickname that I call Steven every once in a while. Tiger.
Oh yeah, you do call me that often.
Tigre.
Actually, not even once in a while.
Yeah.
Really? I've never heard you call him that.
Hey, Tiger. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be as good as the last 3 were.
It's such a dad name to call him. What's up, Tiger? What's up, Chief?
Tiger. Yeah, this one is this Japan or no? This is brewed in Singapore. That's what it was. Sport.
World renowned.
Yeah.
Oh, it's world renowned for being horrible. Ugh.
World renowned for being Heineken.
Good God, that's horrid. Jesus, how are beers around the world so bad? Let's get into a little bit of beer talk before we, get into hockey because
I love it.
Because nothing's been good.
I think you have a lot of copycats. That's why.
Yeah. Not good ones
is.
either.
Yeah, and they're done cheaply, so it's that flavor is like when your average person, when they think of beer and what beer tastes like, it's that. And when you run into somebody that's just like, I hate beer, and then you're like, well, and then you kind of go over the stuff. And granted, now we're sounding like snobs. I'm not trying to be a snob, but then you go over styles, and they just, it's Coors Light, Miller Lite, whatever it is that they drank in college was disgusting. Which, rightfully so, it isn't good.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah.
In college.
Yeah. But you look at the top sellers. Look at the top sellers in the United States. They're all bad. They're flavorless, swamp water, basically.
Yeah.
So the rest of the world, that's what sells. So the rest of the world, just kind of tries to mimic it. So that's my theory as to why all these beers are terrible everywhere you go.
So I'm going to piggyback off of that, Steve, and say that plus if you don't if you don't live in a culture that is as I don't know, that has such a wide variety of beer as ours does, you just you have beer and that's whatever your beer is that you can get locally, that's what you think beer is and that's what you like.
Yeah.
It's just that's
There are
it.
definitely other countries and other places around that do have like different beer flavoring and obviously
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
things. But
They also, a
Well,
lot of
let's-
these countries, the beer is not the go-to drink
No.
that they have. So in a lot of places, I mean, I could see this, and not even all of Europe, but there's obviously a good handful of countries in Europe. Beer is like the go-to, but there's France. You're not going to find people just casually drink. I mean, you will, but it's not
No.
the main
It's not the
staple.
go-to. I
No, and
mean,
you could probably
hell,
say here in the U.S. it probably is, right? Still, even though seltzers are slowly taking over.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Stephen,
Seltzers or flavored waters. Yeah.
Stephen, your
Oh, my
ancestors
ancestors.
discovered that if they chew corn and then brew with
Yep.
that,
Chew it and
it
spit it
creates
out.
beer.
Yeah.
Chew and spit it out.
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap! Like, how do you figure that out? But your ancestors did
That's a
it.
good question.
Yeah. How did
The
they?
The enzymes of
Obviously,
your saliva, it breaks it down in such a way where they can make a
like
beer
I'm
out
sure
of
at
it. And
first they mashed it and then put it in water and used it that way, and then someone instead spit into it. I'm like, oh, it tastes better. Let's do that.
It's
I
just
don't
more
know
than
enough
just
about the
spitting
history
into it. But
behind it.
it's,
I'm sure you can find the history as to
Phew.
why somebody decided this was a good idea.
So bad.
and you were
and
never
then
able to
Schwimm's-
find that, right, Guy? you're
Not
in Peru?
not the true chicha beer. It's very, very difficult to find. I think you can find it more like in the northern part of Peru where there's more jungles.
Okay.
Not more jungles, more of the jungle, I should say, and the jungle villages and such. So that's to my impression. There's a lot of stuff when I visited Peru that I couldn't find, like some of the traditional stuff that part of me didn't want to find it. But the whole ayahuasca thing was like, oh yeah, that's like everywhere, and then you really have to go into like the small villages in the Amazon to find the. I mean, I'm sure you can find black market ayahuasca somewhere down there, but
Yeah.
maybe
It's
don't
more
do
in the
that.
Yeah.
traditional places. You're not going to find it in like Lima where it's more cosmopolitan
Right.
or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Lima has some good beers though. I go there; they have a bunch of different styles. The only thing is, like, what I find, and I don't know if it, like, even when I went to New Zealand, like IPAs are just rough. They're so bitter in these countries that don't typically do it. And I don't know if it's.
I don't
I
know
mean,
if I
I'm
found
assuming
one
it's the
when I went to
hops, but
England.
it's got to be the style. Yeah, I'm sure they're
Yeah.
there. They got to be there. And it wasn't. There's actually a surprising amount in New Zealand. There's actually the primary craft beer was IPAs, and a lot of them were hazies, and a lot of times they had APAs, IPAs, and a lot of time I tried to avoid them because I knew just had like smelling them. They're so bitter that just smelling it would probably give me a headache.
So probably the reason why they're still popular, and I just looked this up to double check this. But I guess IPAs were traditionally brewed so that they could survive the journey from England to places like India, which was far away from any center of brewing, which would make sense for them to also migrate down to a place like Australia and New Zealand since they were originally English colonies.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that they would have a popularity there. But I'm curious if maybe the traditional IPA is more of that versus what we're used to having here, which is a little bit toned down compared to some. But I mean, you can find some IPAs here that are really just absolutely bitter as anything.
Yeah, brutal.
But
But there was, I mean,
it's
going
like,
back to New Zealand, I mean, their go-to beer is Tui, and Tui is, they describe it as the New Zealand Bud Light. So that's what most of everybody's drinking down there. But they do have other styles. I didn't find a lot of sours, so they're there. I had a spicy pickle sour while I was down there.
that is your type of beer.
Yeah,
Yeah, it sounds like
it was
Steven.
That
just
is like
straight pickle
Steven beer.
juice.
Yeah,
All
that's a
right.
Steven Beard.
Well,
All right, on to hockey.
let's get to what's on tap for today's
Oh,
episode.
we're supposed to talk hockey?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, a
there's
little bit.
something going on
Here's
in
our
the
weekly
NHL
snapshot.
this time of year.
So first off, episode 200, boys. I did not think we would get this far. I am pretty excited about it. Giuseppe is very excited. You can see the grease coming down his outfit. So I could Canada make the Stanley Cup Finals? Obviously, this prior to one the Knights scoring with 0.4 seconds left to stun the Oilers, and then Florida coming back and shutting out in Game 4 the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I was a jinx. But yeah, listen, there's I still think we could see a Canadian team in the Stanley Cup Finals. I think one of these two teams is good enough to make it. Just kind of depends on what team shows up on what specific day. They are both offensive juggernauts with zero goaltending. And I sent you guys that tweet that said I forgot who it was from, but essentially it said it looks like the Edmonton Oilers are going to have to turn back to their number one goalie, and it said like and that, very apropos because these two teams, obviously Toronto's without Stolarz, he's hurt. Walls played pretty decent. That second goal, against Florida wasn't the best, but Walls played, good in relief. But Edmonton's goalies, from Picard to, whatever Stuart Skinner is, just disappointing, and that's really what's kind of hurting them. I know that their offense for Toronto's kind of dried up. I think I saw Austin Matthews has 1 goal in 9 games this season, this Stanley Cup playoff run, and that's just not good enough from an all-world goal scorer.
Is he like 9 assists though, right? 9 or 10 assists.
Yes, I think I saw it was 9 or 10 assists.
You kind of saw a glimpse of that in the Four Nations, right? He just wasn't scoring.
Yeah,
but he was doing he was doing a lot of other stuff pretty well. He was
playing
creating and even defensively, yeah, he played well and he was having assists. But I don't know. It's
2 goals, 8 assists.
Florida's still a powerhouse, and Paul Maurice is still a great coach. So number one, they went back to Florida, so that definitely helps. But also, I think they're now, like I said, when you get into a 7-game series with teams like this, and similar to Carolina, what I've talked about in the past is that they can go through a season, routinely beating teams, or even in Carolina's sake, for example, that first game 1, it was both game 1 against the Capitals and against the Devils, that they just immensely outshot the opponent. I think the Devils against the Devils, they put up 45 shots against Washington in game 1. It was like high 30s to the teens or something like that. And then, game 2s, game 3s roll around and their system just doesn't last. And the other teams, if they're smart enough, especially when you get this far into the playoffs, adapt to it. And then everything that you were doing well is basically trapped. And then now you're dealing with a coach, in Berube, if he can, and players, if they can, now try to adapt to Florida. Because now that Florida has stymied Toronto's system, now Toronto's got to try and figure out a way to retaliate to that. And I don't know that they can. I hope they do. I kind of want Toronto coming out of the series. I didn't pick them, but I kind of want them to come out of the series.
Yeah.
But I think it's too much. This team Florida's too much. So I think you're going to see. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Florida went on to win the next 2, to be honest with you, and just
reverse sweep
take 4 straight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's something to be said too that the way Florida plays and whether it's intentional or not, their play has caused a player like Stolarz, who was playing very well for the Leafs, to just no longer be available. I know it's 100% intentional.
It's the same characters. Yeah, it's the same characters who never get appropriately disciplined. So they'll deal with a phone call or a fine or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's a game changing.
Well, Max Domi, sorry.
Yeah, and
they injure players, and it's fine. Nothing. I miss a game, maybe.
And not for nothing,
fine.
Like
Domi.
I'm not upset, or I'm not condoning what Domi did about hitting Barkov from behind, because that's just one of the worst hits you can, especially the distance he was from the boards. But That's basically what
Yeah.
Florida's been doing to Toronto the whole series.
Yeah.
And Florida has it happen to them, and they took massive exception to it. I don't want to say it was a good thing, but good on Domi for kind of giving Florida a taste of their own medicine. It's like, here you go,
Toronto
take
has
it.
And
has the characters. They have the characters to
Yeah.
Oh,
have a
they
few.
do.
give back what Florida does. So it's like you can't.
Mhm.
And one of them's a former
look down on
Florida
one and not
player
the
in
other.
OEL.
Yeah.
Ruben Larson's. Yeah. This is what I was going to say. Florida, when you think about their team, you look at Matthew Tkachuk and Marchand and Bennett and these scum. And I know Bennett had the little elbow, drifting by Stolarz that contributed to why he's out. But their
Actually, last season,
defense,
to be honest with you.
yeah,
With Cousins and Lomberg, you had them into the mix
well,
from
last year.
season. They were
But I'll say
actually worse.
this year, their defense, I think, is the dirtiest part, from Mikko Mikkola to Ekblad, who the forearm shiver that he gave to what's his name last series.
Mikkola's weird. I did not expect. Mikkola's not that kind of player, so I'm kind of wondering where this comes from. But that's two now.
Kulikov
right?
with elbow to Marner, they're just altogether dirty. And then Seth Jones just sucks. But
so did it ever come out that Stolarz? Probably not. But it could have. I could have.
Listen, I think it was the head.
Was it
or the shot before?
So I was just going to ask. They think because the shot he took before, he lost his helmet. That's
hurts.
what
they think. It went both, right? They think the shot and that little knock kind of just both
did him in.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't seen anything and I wasn't quite sure, and I was wondering that because when you watch that shot off the head, it's like, that's a hell of a shot.
Yeah.
But then I think I was pointing out to Brooke. I was like, watch, the helmet comes off and he automatically just his first instinct. Well, I mean, the shake is there, which they said that's like the new immediate indicator of a concussion. Yeah. But he immediately kind of squares up to where the puck's going, and is like ready to almost face the next shot because that's just how mentally unwell goalies are.
Yeah,
I've done it. Yep. We're just all mentally unwell.
Yeah, it didn't look like the Bennett hit was like what really did him in. So I assume
it's just a contributing factor, right?
Right.
It didn't help. It didn't help.
Because if it's already there, I mean, what's worse usually is not the immediate impact that causes the concussion. It's each subsequent impact after. So it can be something that looks innocuous, right? And which it kind of did. I mean, obviously it was like the accidentally on purpose, like, dirty play, but it's not like it wasn't like a high impact play. But if it already happened, like if the concussion already happened, it doesn't take a whole lot more to kind of put you over the edge. So
that kind of makes me think, like, kind of conspiracy theory here. Did someone from Florida say, "Hey, Stolarz took a really good one to the head. Let's bump him a little bit, see how he reacts." Like, is it possible? Because that just
I hope not. That is like that's just so dirty. And like I know he was on. Stolarz was in Florida last year, so he's friends with some of these guys. You would think that Bennett wouldn't want to go out of his way to purposely try to hurt him. I mean, he's Sam Bennett. So
you know what though? We have all played against friends who are the biggest dickbags, regardless of how close you are. But when you get on the rink,
I love you, Marty.
But like they're just, we're all friends off the rink. But sometimes you have a friend that's just like the biggest dickbag on the rink, no matter how close you are with them. And Bennett could potentially be that type of person. And on top of that, being the Stanley Cup playoffs and the ultimate goal is to win the cup. Like, regular season, might he do that? Possibly. But
you don't hear a lot about him in the regular season. He really comes like roaring out in the postseason. But you see this in all sports, though. That if somebody suspects injury, especially in fighting sports, if you suspect injury, the athlete, it doesn't even necessarily need to come from the coach, but the athlete, like, they exploit it. They go after it. If something appears hurt, the player's going to go after it because they want to remove them from the game. I would hope that head injuries I mean, I don't think it should exist regardless. But I mean, specifically head injuries, you would hope. But I wouldn't. I
So-
would not be surprised. I'm not going to assume that that's why it happened, but I wouldn't be surprised if that mentality exists.
So if it was the shot, mostly the shot before, where were the Toronto doctors on calling attention to it like they're supposed to?
Yeah, they should have.
You know,
That's the
you got to look
spotters,
at that too.
you know?
That's the
Yeah.
concussion spotters that should be like, hey, let's take a moment here and check this.
But
Check
also,
this
it
guy
wasn't
out
the
real quick.
spotters. The spotters, they never intervened. So he was never pulled off
No,
for the sake of a potential head injury. He came off because he
himself
got sick on the bench. So because
Yeah.
and what the proof of that is that anytime if there is a head injury with a goalie and they get pulled off by a spotter, the backup
Mhm.
goalie is allowed a warm up. And
Yeah.
Wall came in without a warm up. So there was nobody anywhere that mentioned anything about a head injury. Otherwise, he would have had that warm up. So, I mean, it seems dreadfully fumbled by whoever's in charge of that on Toronto. But hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully it's not that bad.
Yeah,
And I don't want to be
Yeah.
like no concussion is ever like not that bad. But I really do. I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
So obviously that you had that instance, but just the hit with Max Domi. I keep saying Ty Domi. Max on Barkov, who is one of the fun players to watch on Florida because he's so talented and so smart. And you have that cheap shot, less than 5 minutes to go, and of course Department of Player Safety is just going to give him a fine because if you're getting slaughtered in a playoff game, they're like, yeah, go get your pound of flesh before the next game. And then you have the stuff with Matt, Kachuk saying that Nylander's next in the game after. And that's not what you want, right? You just want competitive playoff hockey, like what's happened in some of these other series. It sucks.
It's going to happen though.
Yeah, it is.
Even if somebody like Kachuk doesn't say it out loud, it's definitely being talked about.
Yeah,
it just happened. The microphones caught it. I was shocked that they didn't cut the mics. They just kind of let them go.
They do.
And yeah, he was talking. Oh, and then what was it? Nyes. I always screw his name up. Nyes was shouting back. He was shouting back at him like, "Hey, what about me?" Like he was looking to get in too.
Yeah,
Nyes a big boy.
I like Nyes a lot, and he's getting he's an RFA this offseason. He could be if what people say could be true about RFAs and getting tags. He's someone very interesting. He scores. He's tough. He's big. He's an interesting player. I could see him getting a pretty good offer sheet out there if they want to do it.
I would imagine him being matched. Somebody like him being matched.
Yes, especially because you're going to lose Tavares's $10 million. You can easily eat that one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, 2-0 Hurricanes. About 4 minutes left in the second period. There could possibly go up 3-1. I kind of wanted. We'll go through each series, but. Do you guys have any? Obviously, the leader for the MVP is pretty easy.
Rantanen.
Mikko Rantanen is by far and away ridiculous right now. But if you were to go to each series, Capitals, Hurricanes, Florida, and Toronto, and then obviously the last one would be Vegas and Oilers, who would you pick on those other three series?
Like one from each series, or just somebody other than Rantanen?
Yeah, one from each series, because right now Rantanen's running away with it. I think if it ended today, it's Mikko's.
Yeah, it'd be Rantanen.
I think Aho's had a great playoffs.
Okay, I was actually going to say,
Carolina.
What about net? Freddie Anderson has played.
Freddie Anderson's
for
been
someone
quietly very
we
good.
always give shit to. Yeah. He's
his injury,
good
when he's healthy. It's just like he was briefly injured in these playoffs too. So there was no exception to his injuries, but
he played very well when he was in net against us.
Yeah,
he was.
He's played well against very well against Washington. Also, already has one shutout against Washington.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely hear that. I do like. I think Aho has been quietly kind of carrying that offense. With Washington,
just for Freddie, real fast.
No idea.
5-2, a 132 goals against, and a 940 save percentage. That's pretty good.
How many shutouts? Two shutouts.
Two shutouts. So yeah, Aho, because I'll give him some plugs. 3 goals, 6 assists. Here's my daughter. in 8 games, 9 points.
Hi,
He's
Sarah.
doing pretty well. Yeah.
Hi, Sarah.
Very nice. Go to bed. Find mommy. Miko, obviously, we talked about. On Washington, I don't see anybody that I would be like, oh, that makes sense. That player's been awesome for them. People say Tom Wilson just every game, but he's dirty and his hits are just so cheap that I'm not going to give him
He's
any
brought some energy.
sort of greens.
But like that first series against Ottawa was like so nothing. And
Yeah.
then now they're down 2-1, losing 2-0. So there's really nobody's done anything in this series for them at all. So
Yep.
I don't necessarily
agree.
say so. I'm just going to pick one player from
Yeah,
the series,
I like it.
not from each.
All right.
And,
what
that
about
would be my pick.
Toronto and
Short
guy? I guess you
Freddie.
agree, right? Aho. Oh yeah, Freddie Aho.
I think he's a goalie.
Freddie
He's
Anderson.
going with the goalie.
Yeah, Freddie Anderson.
Yeah. Slavin's also been ridiculous, but he's not going to win an MVP because
unsung hero.
But when you watch,
always going to be.
When you watch him in this series, and he just shuts down the Ovechkin line all the time. Ovechkin was getting ran over, by the way, last
also
game.
got a
Awesome.
got a game-winning goal in overtime, so good for him.
Yeah,
well deserved.
Toronto and Florida. Shorts guy. Who do you? Anyone you liking in this series? That you're excited to watch play?
Like is a loaded term.
Is definitely a loaded term.
Like as in how they've played and MVP-ish for their respective teams.
I feel like, at least for this series right now, this is going to shock the two of you. Bobrovsky is to turn it up in order for him to win.
Yeah,
he started to look like the Bobrovsky of old. He didn't look like that in the first couple games.
The last 2 games he's definitely been there, but that first series and this against Tampa, and then the first 2 games
he wasn't
here,
all
he's
that
not
great.
looked good. Yeah,
no, but then he looks really good in the last 2 games.
Flashy moments.
Yeah.
But the last 2 games, he's really kind of brought it.
Other
than that, that's pretty much all I got because I pretty much watch one position on the ice pretty consistently.
Yeah.
I would have said Stolarz was. Nylander's been good.
Nylander's been very
Stolarz was doing phenomenal, and then he got knocked out. Which is kind of like a bummer. Yes, it's
Nylander's really. I feel like Nylander's really taken over as like the premier star of that team, and amongst you have guys like Marner, Nylander, and Austin Matthews. But Nylander really, in the regular season, what he finished 3rd, 4th in points or something. What was this?
Yeah, let's see here.
Was that Nylander last night that received that pass without looking between his legs for the breakaway?
That was ridiculous.
That was
so Marner finished 5th,
and the receiving.
And Nylander finished 18th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Marner actually. I didn't realize Marner. Wow, good for him.
So Nylander, obviously it helps being on the second line. He's on that second play so that, Marner and obviously Matthews get the primetime defensive zone coverage, but he's been awesome. Nylander's been the reason why their offense has been humming so much, even though Marner and, Matthews both have a bunch of assists. The rest of the team, has kind of stepped up. I was going to say Florida. Someone surprised me, and I didn't think he would be doing so well. Brad Marchand, he hasn't been as dirty, and he's been on that line with Lundell and Lestrainen, and he's been awesome. I'll give Brad Marchand some props here because
I'm just looking at Florida. I think it's very hard to pick a single person from Florida just because I'm looking at the points total here, and it's just
they're all 8.
The scoring depth, everybody's 8. Yeah, it's crazy that. Just literally every line is just kind of rolling at this point.
It's literally this is fun. It's because if you look at it, it's Lundell, Lestrainen, Kachuk, Bennett, Reinhart, Verhaeghe, Barkov, and Marchand all with 8 points.
Yeah,
it's half the team.
Yeah, that's
pretty
insane.
Funny. Yeah. And then the next closest one is under 5. It's a very funny dynamic they have going there. Obviously, very
Balanced. I mean,
very,
you can't really ask for
balanced.
more. I mean, I guess they could ask for one guy. There's usually one guy who just
To start taking
is
off.
kind
Yeah.
of just like carrying, but you can't getting that kind of depth is a paramount, and it goes to show why they are where they are, and now how they're dealing with Toronto, how they're dealing with them. So
Yeah.
but yeah, if I had to pick one
Obviously,
player, I would say Nylander.
yeah, obviously Miko and Dallas. If you're going to go the other side, Kyle Connor has played really well. Just he's being overshadowed by the best hockey player in the world right now. But Edmonton Oilers and Vegas Golden Knights. You look at the two, McDavid and Draisaitl. They're both the top, second, third in points, and they get their flowers. But Jack Eichel, I mean, I know he got undressed by Connor McDavid in that overtime goal in Game 2. But
Should have
he's
never
been
happened.
really good. Yeah, it should never happen. But he's been really good for them. Eichel.
I don't think I've ever seen a more egregious penalty than what transpired right before that play.
It was bad.
Not only was it so obviously a penalty, but it was also so obviously dirty. It had every single marking of a just horrendous, like a potential 5-minute major penalty. They're just like, nah, we're good. And then they come down and they immediately back score.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It was bad.
I am so over Edmonton at this point. They are the absolute most annoying team in these playoffs.
Yeah.
With the amount of games that they've won that they had no business winning. And yet here we are. They're up 2-1 on Vegas. Now Vegas has to, come back from a whole 2-0. They took 4 straight from LA when it looked like LA was going to sweep them. And they've throughout this entire playoffs, they've barely led in any game.
Yeah. They're the comeback kids.
I'm over it. I'm over it. It's not even comeback kids. It's just complete. It's just reckless. It's complete recklessness, and you're just relying on two guys to just be otherworldly at any.
Although
moment.
You got to give it, Corey Perry
and the rest
is
of the team
just
is
finding.
Corey Perry's got 6 goals or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah, he's just finding the spots to get the goals, which is
favorite player.
Infuriating.
Yes. He's good on the power play. You get those net front guys that do well on the power play, and he's doing fine. But he's just with just outright horrendous goaltending, very weak defense. It's just the team is just I don't enjoy watching them at all.
No.
Half the time I have to shut it off because I'm like, this is so stupid. And then when they tied it, you just knew it was coming. And of course, well, the funny thing is it was 2 own goals in the final 3 minutes, which was kind of funny.
Oh,
hey, everybody
and then the
Melvin's
last
new haircut.
one.
Yeah, Draisaitl. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that puff at the back. Look at that puff.
Good job, Melvin.
Yeah, the Draisaitl own goal, and obviously Skinner. When you watch that replay from the over the top of the net view, where Draisaitl's the only one in front of the net, and Skinner's not within 10 feet of the
crease,
of the goal. It's fantastic. Yeah. It is absolutely fantastic. And a lot of guys came to his defense. They understood what he was doing, but he was so. You can still, and Steven and Schwartz can attest. You can still square up a shooter and keep having him go wide and stay close to the net.
Post.
Like, yeah, he's so far out. It's not even funny.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if part of his mentality was the clock also, and he was just trying to
just be big,
run it out basically, and just take away any, because he knew he wasn't wrapping around the net, right? And he knew he wasn't passing it to somebody. So okay, maybe he was just trying to get in his way of him getting a shot on goal, which he didn't get a shot on goal. he threw it across the crease, and Draisaitl just happened to, put it in himself.
I'm rewatching it now, and it's almost like that's what he was just trying to do. Like I think it was all based on time. He was just trying to play big, not assuming he would be able to get the bounce he did to score the goal. Because you watch that and it's like that's one of those plays to where, like, if I'm going to play it big like that, like I'm expecting you just to try to wing it at me and just kind of hit it. Well, see, on top of it too, he kind of went down early, if you watch, he comes out for the shot, and he's expecting that shot on the outside. Yeah, he was not expecting him to continue to drag it down low. He was expecting that
Yeah.
shot to come from further up, and he kind of halfway goes down, and he's kind of stuck in like a between here and nowhere. So he just tried to push and slide a little bit, just to try to stay big out of the net.
Yeah,
He
and
ends up
obviously
looking
poor
real
Draisaitl. If Draisaitl
It
doesn't
looks
touch the puck, it
worse.
just goes
It looks-
wide.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. Like Draisaitl's trying to help there, but yeah, if
Yeah. He just,
now that I
if he
look
just
at it
stayed out of
again,
the way,
yeah, if he would have
that
just,
game's going to overtime.
I mean, Steven, not for nothing. If there was a way for us to lose a game, it would be that.
Yeah.
That's how
Mhm.
you and I would team up to lose a game together, because that's just something
been
that
a
would
little
happen to
while.
us.
We're due.
It has been.
We are due.
We are. I know we're due. But yeah, after watching that again, he was reacting to that shot thinking it was going to come, and he was already kind of half down, and all he could do was just kind of slide and hope to slide out the clock, and he lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Although, you know what, I would love. You know what I would love though. All people who are probably ripping him online to try to even react in the short amount of time that he did.
Wow. Yeah.
To going kind of quarter down and then being able to have the wherewithal to even slide in a direction they chose. Granted, I know he's an
That's a
NHL
lot of
goalie.
people.
You'd want him to make that save, but
Yeah. All right, so Dallas leads 2-1, and the Jets have looked. They're
Jetty.
obviously missing Scheifele and
I
some
thought
of their
Scheifele
bigger
came back.
players.
Did he back
Yeah,
out
he
again?
was-
He did. He was there in Game
he was
3.
in Game
wasn't-
2.
He was okay.
He was in Game
Maybe
2,
I
and he
missed
made a
that.
big difference.
Did he play last night?
Maybe I didn't see
let
the
me look
score.
now.
I didn't watch the game on that last one, but I still see the highlights. I didn't see him, but maybe I just
Yeah, Mother's Day. I missed it.
missed-
Scheifele did
yeah.
play.
Yeah, I missed it as well.
okay.
Played
did play.
Is Morrissey back
21
too?
minutes. Yeah.
Morrissey, yeah, Morrissey was a +2.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Assist.
So obviously Jets, they just need their all-world goaltender to step it up. All-world, Steven, and I saw you comment on my notes from last week's
Yeah.
little
Steve is
tutor
in shock.
session. He was in shock. Steven was shocked. I saw it.
Based on my previous statement, I should have been
Yes.
shocked because I did
You
say that
should
I
have been
would be
shocked. You did, yeah. As shocked as the Capitals right now, going down 2-0 in the third period. Golden Knights are down 2-1 to Edmonton, but I think we all still kind of like the Golden Knights' chances. We just talked about the Hurricanes, and the Maple Leafs are tied 2-2 with the Panthers after Sunrise's Game 4. All right, couple of other things, then we'll get out of here. I don't know if you guys saw this stat, but new Pope, he's from Chicago. He's a Blackhawks fan, so hopefully they have the worst luck possible. But the only two teams to not make the playoffs during Pope Francis's tenure, New York Jets and the Buffalo Sabres.
Nice.
Pope has a whole run, and they still don't make the playoffs.
I saw something else. We're now on our third Pope since the Sabres have last made the playoffs.
Yep. Well,
I think it was Pope John Paul II Pope John Paul II was still the pontiff when the Sabres were last in the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So
because it's 2005.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's bad. Because it was Benedict.
No. We've had No, we've had two full papacies and then one new one since the Sabres have last been.
Yeah. Yeah, not good. The same thing with the Jets, both of them.
It's rough.
All right, I know Steven kind of commented on this. I didn't get a chance, but Mike Sullivan, hired by the Rangers. Obviously I like it a lot, and I'm not thinking that he's going to be the savior, but he's definitely the kind of coach that you need behind the bench. He's a top 5 coach in the NHL, and they do make a difference, I think, in the NHL more than any other sport. Well, maybe than football, but it's a big time ad for this team, and we'll see what happens with the players that he can bring in / how he can turn around this roster. But I was excited for it, and of course,
I think it might spell I was going to say this last week if you were on, but just based on his track record with the Penguins, this might spell the end of the Matt Rempe era because he
I hope so.
will not.
Please, thank you,
He
God.
will not play fighters. Jim Rutherford gave up a first round pick. A first-round pick to acquire Ryan Reeves, and he sat in the press box the entire time.
Yeah, I love it. That would I would love it so much.
Has Sullivan ever dealt with somebody like James Dolan, though?
Well, I mean, I would assume that he has full say on his roster, and he's the type of coach that'll be like, F off. I really do think
I don't think he's going to have full say of his roster. I mean, maybe at the beginning, right? But I mean, with Dolan and Drury,
not his
extended,
roster, but he'll have full say over who he puts in the lineup card. I don't think that's negotiable.
I mean, if Rempe is a nightly scratch, you don't think somebody's going to come down and be like, "Listen,
trade him.
You got to play like."
Oh, he's their moneymaker.
We have three-quarters of MSG wearing his jersey right now. I think you need to put him in.
I'm pretty sure the fans will come whether he is on the team or not. It's MSG, it's the Rangers. It's just what happens. I don't think it's a player.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because most of them aren't actually Ranger fans anyway. They just have tickets.
Yeah, true. And then, of course, we have another hiring that – did you guys discuss Joel Quenneville and how awesome of a hire that is?
That was
it actually didn't happen, right? It was afterwards.
Yes. We are not fortune tellers.
I guess it was after.
Yeah, listen, Steven said it perfectly. There's just no reason he should be in the NHL. He's old. He's a dinosaur. He's well past his prime.
All of this is so easily avoidable. All of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
So easily
There shouldn't
avoidable.
be any statements that have to be made. There shouldn't be any phone calls that had to be made prior to the hiring. None of this is necessary. None of it. There is no reason for, with the amount of qualified coaches that are in the league, there's no reason for Anaheim to even bother dealing with this nonsense. And there's no reason for Quenneville to coach anymore. Just hang it up.
Yeah, Kyle Beach should not have to answer questions.
No, you shouldn't have to go and be like, hey, listen, can you relive this traumatic event once again because we want to hire this guy? Why? I don't understand. I do not understand this league.
Horrible.
I'd say I feel like every week we're talking about best sport, worst league, and every single on a weekly basis, there's something new that proves that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pathetic.
And here's another one.
Here's another what?
Good grief! I'm done yelling. I think.
Oh, no! Listen, you're absolutely right. It's horseshit and bullshit and all sorts of shit. This guy should not be in the league. The NHL and the teams. Why does Anaheim want the headache of what he would provide, even if he is somewhat decent of a coach? The backlash in media and fans' perspective, why would you want that headache for a young team that's developing? Now, this guy's going to go into a young locker room and he's the mature voice you want in front of your players.
It's going to be like the Mike Babcock thing all over again. And on top of that, as much as I love him, he's, Quenneville's of that generation, like Lou Lamoriello, where the game is completely different when they had success.
Yeah.
Like Lamoriello, I'll be shocked if he gets hired as a GM again, because I feel like his time and his methods, as much as he did phenomenal things for the Devils,
mm-hmm.
He'll forever be
for the Islanders, which is actually a good thing. So we commend his efforts in the Islanders.
Yes,
on the Islanders.
Yes, we do.
Well
done.
And the Islanders should be.
But that shows
he got a first-round pick.
But that shows that Lamoriello's time is past.
It's past.
Because what he did with the Islanders was just, thankfully, the Islanders just destroyed him. I really wish he was still there to select the first overall, because then it would be a train wreck.
It'd be Schaefer. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be Schaefer. It'd be Higgins, which would be fantastic. Because he's probably the fifth best prospect.
I think Schaefer's supposed to be, right? He's supposed to be.
No. I meant Higgins. I didn't mean Schaefer. I meant Higgins being the Long Island kid. He's probably the fifth best prospect, but they should be taking Schaefer. Yes.
Didn't Schaefer miss a lot of time too?
But it is fantastic that this is the draft that they won it on. Is a draft that really, it's like the Owen Power draft, where Owen Power's a good player, but he's not the generational talent that some of these other drafts have been. So I like
Yeah,
that.
well, maybe
they
if
get
his
the shitty
parents would have
draft.
done better at selecting his first name, he would be a generational
Mhm.
talent.
All
Our last name's
right,
Power.
Miko.
What should his first name be? Maxwell?
Yeah,
Max?
Maxwell.
How about Owen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Miko Rantanen
He'll
had
be out
contributed on
there
15 of the
Owen
last.
money.
Yeah, Owen money. Rantanen has contributed 15 of the last 16 Dallas Stars goals, so I saw that one. That was a pretty good stat. I wanted to ask you guys' opinion on this. Well, by the way, the kick? Anyone have any issues with the kick goal? Rantanen,
Yeah, I did.
Hellebuck. They said that it was because Rantanen, not Rantanen. It was because Hellebuck directed the
play.
puck in, kind
Yeah.
of like Draisaitl did. He's trying to make a save. You can't blame the goaltender for
I
trying to
it's
make a
awful.
save there off of
Awful.
any
Not at
sort
all.
of reaction. Yeah, and I just
Awful.
like the NHL. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
It
Was
should
that-
be. It's another thing. It's another rule that should be black and white.
Was that in the last game?
Yeah, it was the tying goal.
The tying goal, yeah.
Petrovic. Was it tying goal or go ahead? I think it was the go ahead.
Oh yeah, it was the game winner. Yeah.
Petrovic's
I mean,
goal. Let me
Rantanen's,
watch
and then
this now.
and then Rantanen scored and then Rantanen was just doing Rantanen things immediately after. But no, that should not have been a goal.
Yeah.
It should be black and white when it comes to kicking, and it's not. It's left up. I hate anything that's left up to interpretation as to somebody trying to analyze the intent of the player doing it. And you should never have to consider intent, because nobody besides the person who's doing it can tell you what the intent was. And even then, they're going to lie to you. So intent should never be a factor in making any of these rules when it comes to freaking injuring a player or things like this. You can't factor in intent. It needs to be just black and white. If it happens, it's this. That's it. Done deal.
Agreed. Last thing I want to follow up on before we get out of here. Did you guys see the quarter century team list of players the NHL
I didn't
put
see
out?
all of them, but I saw the picture of it. They finally gave Malkin some credit. I saw that.
So Marty was there.
I'll go through the list. Yeah, Bergeron, Brodeur, Burns, Zdeno Chara, Sidney Crosby, Draisaitl, Doughty, Fleury, Hedman, Iginla, Kane, Patrick Kane, Eric Carlson, Duncan Keith, Anze Kopitar, Nicholas Lidstrom, Lundqvist, McKinnon, Malkin, McDavid, Ovechkin, Pavelski, Price, Patty Waugh, Stamkos, and Joe Thornton. Now, there's one person not on here that I like. He should absolutely be in over Pavelski. But how is Nikita Kucherov not on this team?
It's because I don't know. Is it because we're Draisaitl and McDavid were, right?
Yeah, Draisaitl, McDavid, McKinnon.
That's a good question.
Hedman's on here.
Who would he have? I mean, I was going to say maybe
Pavelski?
he hasn't played long enough, but I mean, Pavelski has been incredible.
Also on here was Johnny Hockey. And I'm not going to pull him out because, I think him overall importance. But if I was going to do player for player, Kucherov would definitely be the player over Johnny Hockey. But like I said, I don't want to take anything away from him. Matthews was also, on this list too.
Debuted after.
And so was Cale Makar.
Yeah, that's I would call that a snub.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a huge snub.
I didn't realize. Yeah,
he's arguably one of the top 3 player in the last 10 years.
You said Kuch,
top
right?
5 player.
Yeah, I mean, as far as offensive production goes, yeah, without a doubt.
I mean, Stamkos is on here.
He should be over.
Datsuk.
He should be over Stamkos. Datsuk, yes. I'm not. I really like. I mean, I did enjoy Stamkos, but Stamkos is a one-trick pony, and he kind of has been his entire career. And he really, really did benefit from the team that he was on and the way they kind of used his strength and kind of built around it. So they knew that he wasn't the guy. He wasn't like the one guy who was going to carry play, create, and take a team on his back and win games. But if you gave him the right supporting cast, it could almost seem like he was. But yeah, he was that, top of the circle, one-timer on the power play.
Mm-hmm.
That was his thing. And he had a bomb of a shot, and it worked, and he was very good at it. I'm not going to discredit that, but I mean, if I Giuseppe Dean apparently has no opinion on this, but he's been quiet on that.
surprisingly.
If I were, he's the captain, right? So the captain who didn't have much to do at all with at least one of the cups, right? Besides re-injuring himself
that one game
or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would think Kucherov over Stamkos.
Yeah.
I think that's my immediate replacement, easily immediate replacement. There might be other guys you can talk about, but if I had to just pick one for one, same team, Kucherov over Stamkos.
Yeah, Kucherov over Stammer. Yeah.
This was fan voted, correct?
So there was fan vote, and then there was
the
and then there's the writer vote. So the fan vote was different than the writer vote. I could go over both, but I don't think we really care all that much. It is the quarter century team. They did do also the Four Nations face-off quarter century team. Just quickly, Finland was Barkov, Rantanen, and Teemu Selanne, with Sami Salo, Kimmo Timonen, and Pekka Rinne. You had the U.S., which was Kane, Matthews, Pavelski, with Fox, Hughes, and Quick. You had Canada, which was Crosby, McKinnon, McDavid, Doughty, Pronger, Brodeur. And then you had Sweden, which was Backstrom, Sedin, Steen, Carlson, Lidstrom, Hank. They even did a Utah Hockey Club first team.
Anybody see the line? Who they played? They just played Slovenia. I think they just beat Slovenia. I don't remember Slovenia.
Yeah,
Kind of in the line of Crosby, McKinnon, and Celebrini.
Yeah,
jeez. Talk about a dream for Celebrini.
Yeah. There's this person. I think I saw it on one of the social medias. It was a clip of Celebrini sitting next to Sid, and just like looking at Sid and like weighing in. It was like almost like as if he was weighing in on one of the plays and like trying to give advice to Sid about the play, but at the same time having the most like nervous look on his face. Like,
yes,
it's like, should I be saying this right now? It's so crazy. It's so cool to see. I can't imagine that feeling.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
I guess it's
sitting next to one of your idols, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
you see these young Canadian players that come up. I mean, he is there because there was no Lemieux, there was no Gretzky. It was just they were born and there was Sid.
Yep.
Sid is their hockey god.
Sid was born 2000?
1987.
Well, he was drafted. He was drafted
2005.
in 2005. Yeah.
2005.
So yeah. Anyone that's between 20 and 30, like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's a good chunk of
even
of the younger players.
Even McDavid. McDavid, you go back, he's 97, and he grew up. It was all Sid. By the time he could, have memories or figure out what hockey was, he was 8 years old when Sid was. But they knew about him prior to that. They knew about him in the juniors. Tearing that up. So
it's so much bigger in Canada than here. So it was.
We're heading towards the end of an era here, and it's really between Sid, Malkin, Ovechkin, Fleury. I mean, this is these generational guys, Hall of Famers. I mean, they're all Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like it's different than when we lost. Then who retired? Like Pavelski or. We saw Gretzky and Lemieux, but we were younger,
Well, that's what I was saying. These are the first, like Hank. I watched his entire career, and I can vividly remember his start to his finish. Like you guys, you can remember Sid's start to finish. Shorts guy can remember.
Keep going.
But you know what I mean. Like that's I think the difference. Like I can't remember Leach's start I can remember his finish. I just can't remember his start. Right? There's
Mhm.
guys like those guys that we all love. We didn't watch their beginnings, or at least we're a little, too young to really remember their beginnings. So that's what it is. You're watching these
It's
guys, the whole way through, and it makes you feel old. By the
it's
way, I feel really old.
it's really no different than with bands. Like, there were bands that,
Yeah.
we loved growing up, and, into later years that were the big, the big thing that we were seeing all the time. And then those are the bands that we love still. And, there are newer bands because music hasn't ended. But, if you were to
Yeah.
talk to someone younger, it's oh, well, yeah, this is the band I
Used and
like. It's
brand
like,
new,
no,
baby.
they
How
suck.
many how
guys.
many more years?
It's like,
Ovechkin has 2 more years next season
Yeah.
and one
Oh
more.
no, one. No, I think it's one
Just
next
one?
year, and that's it.
I think
So
just
and
one,
and
yeah.
it's Malkin's has one last season also on this contract. So there's
Yeah.
Do they
there's
play in the
potentially
KHL?
would they? Maybe.
That's what they
I
said.
don't know.
Yeah.
I think Ovechkin has said he wants to play 1 year in the KHL. So
Jeez, he's gonna
who
get
knows what he does?
paid. He
Oh
is
yeah.
going. Him going to
Well,
the
you know what it's
KHL
going to be.
is like any prime soccer player or even
It's
past prime soccer player going to Saudi Arabia.
they're going to
Holy
do a
crap!
super line. Whatever KHL team grabs them is going to do a super line. It's going to be
No, they could.
Ovechkin.
They could bring if
It's going to be
Malkin retires too. We
possibly
could
if
lose
Malkin
both of
goes.
them. We could lose both of them this
Yeah.
season.
It's
But
going
it's
to
going to be
be
Ovechkin,
whatever
Kuznetsov,
team
and
Putin
Putin.
decides they go to.
Oh,
Yeah,
and Putin. He
it's
said.
a super line. Kuznetsov,
And
Putin,
Putin, actually, yeah,
Ovechkin.
or Ovechkin, Malkin, and Putin. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Putin will take a shift or two here and there.
Russian gas, baby. All right. Let's on that note get out of here. Do our outro. My Tiger beer is a solid 0.5. That is awful. I haven't even had
That good,
really
huh?
anything to drink of it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you gave it a rank above 0.25.
Yeah.
Wow.
jealous.
Let's try to be. Yeah. Giuseppe
Steven,
Dean
that's
gives
because
his
you're
the only-
Grease solid 5.
Steven, that's because you're the only tiger in his life.
That's
You are the
true.
only Tiger in my life.
Can't have another one. I'm a
Nope.
solid 0.75.
My Tiger. You said 4, Steven, and shorts, flashing yellow lights. We know
The
how you
battle
rate
of flashing
that bad
yellow
boy.
lights continues.
All right, take her home,
Uh,
Swim.
Yeah, boys, I do appreciate you filling in last week. Obviously, tough times at the Dean household, but I really do appreciate all the love and support that everyone's given.
Of
I got
course.
some notes, so I appreciate it. And
It will always be there.
you guys are the
Mhm.
best. All right, let's get out of Shrim. You suck. And Mama Dean, I love you very much.
Love, Mom.